Hi, I'm Lisa and I run Indoor Air Aware, and this is a free service that is designed to help families understand the air around them. So today I'm going to be doing a session on the breathable bedroom. So this is all about making sure that our children, whether they have asthma or not, are able to have healthy air in their bedroom to make sure that they're getting really good sleep, and that their air around them is happy and enabling them to develop and their lungs to be able to grow effectively. So this is my daughter, Phoebe, in her makeshift room, and Phoebe has asthma. She has asthma because we were living in a house with mold and damp. She developed asthma during that time, and I also ended up in hospital for 5 days with pneumonia. So I know the dangers of mold and damp, and I understand the value of making sure that the air in your room is healthy. So I'm going to share with you, as a mum, I'm sharing all of my learnings from how I have changed Phoebe's environment to help her cope with her asthma and avoid triggers. So it's worth me just explaining exactly what indoor air is, and what it's made up of. And the best way I can describe it is a cup of tea. So I've worked with scientists and chemists and experts in professors of experts in everything. And it's so hard to understand what happens in the air around us as a layman like me. So the way I describe it is basically a cup of tea. So around 75, we don't hear much about nitrogen, but about 75% of the gases in the air around us is nitrogen, and then around 10%, so the stuff that we're breathing out, is carbon dioxide, and then around 15% is oxygen, which is what we need to live. So we're breathing in oxygen, we're breathing out carbon dioxide, and then we've got 75% nitrogen. But in addition to that, in the air around us, and this is the things that are bad and that we cause, just in our everyday behaviours, because one, we don't know, and two, sometimes we can't avoid it. It sounds tricky to understand, but particulate matter. So basically, the way I describe these is the little bits that break out the tea bag. So that's the little horrible bits that make your cup of tea really yucky, and they come in different sizes. So the smaller they are, the lower they go down into your lungs when you breathe them in. So let's say, for example, if somebody's vaping in a room, so instead of smoking, they're vaping, that vapor is really, really tiny. It will go right to the bottom of your child's lungs. And then particulate matter size 10 is much bigger, and that's things like pollen or things you can actually see in the air. So we're generating them in our houses all the time, through different behaviours. And then the other, so that's the actual bits. And then we've got the polluting gases, which is like the sugar in the tea. So those are things like carbon monoxide, which lots of us have monitors to check for. But also it's nitrogen oxide, which is basically from combustibles. And then you've got volatile organic compounds as well, which we call VOX. So if you're burning something, let's say it's a log burner or a fire in a front room, if you're burning on a gas fire, you're cooking food, then that's how you'll generate those particulate matter and the gases. So anyway, we'll come on to go through that in a bit more detail. It's all very complex. But basically, the biggest thing that you need to be aware of is it's not so much temperature in your home, but it's relative humidity. And because we don't have monitors for humidity in our homes, we just always go with temperature. So 18 to 21 degrees is the optimum temperature for your home. So you need to stick let's say 18 degrees, you need to stick a thermostat on 18 degrees and leave it alone. Don't turn it up if you're feeling a bit cold. Probably the reason you're feeling cold is to do with humidity, and that's the amount of moisture there is in your air. So the best thing you can do is you can get a humidity monitor for about a tenner on Amazon or wherever, and then you can check the relative humidity of your air. So what that is it's how much moisture is in your air and the temperature of your air, and it needs to be in between 30 to 50% relative humidity. Anything over that, you're going to have problems with mold and damp. Anything under that, you might have respiratory problems as well, because the air is too dry. So that's the first thing that you need to know. And then we talked a little bit about the polluting gases. So these are basically gases that are generated not just through farts, but these are generated through actions in our homes. So you're going to get as I said earlier, if you're cooking on a gas hob, you're going to get gases in the air that will fill the air, and that will really impact on your child's lungs, anyone's lungs in the room, especially people with heart disease, older people, anyone with sensitivities. But anyone, even without sensitivities, it is bad air. So we need to make sure that windows are open, we're using cooker hoods, and that those cooker hoods are clear, and that air is going out there. So whenever we're generating these gases, particulate matter that I mentioned, so that's the kind of the 2.5 and the 10s, and that's the stuff that whizzes around in the air around us. So I'm sure you're all familiar with when you've had sunlight coming into a room and you can see all the little bits in the air, all of the dots of dust, etc. And that generally comes from skin. But with all of these things, you get then things like dust mites and allergies, not just to do with the lungs, but it's the microbiome in your tummy is affected by these things, and also your skin. So if you've got an eczema, then it's really important to improve the air around you. So anything, also burning candles. If you can avoid burning any candles that aren't soy, it's really important, because anything with fragrance in is essentially going to be putting these alien gases and particulate matters into your air. So try to stay as natural as you can at all times. And if you can get away without adding these fragrances and using these candles, then just please do, because they're no good for us. So this was Phoebe's room, and this was because I was clueless. So I was letting her use nail polish in her room, nail polish remover. I was using a Hoover without a proper HEPA filter. I was letting her dry her hair in the room, which was making all the dust go around. I was using a feather duster rather than a wet wipe, again generating all of this dust around her. I was leaving the windows open because I thought the outdoor air was dirtier than the indoor air. So I was closing all the windows, all the trickle vents, and I was capturing all of this basically carbon dioxide in there, which was making her feel depressed, moody, down, lethargic. I was letting the dog go on her bed, lovely dog, hypoallergenic, cockapoo, but did I know actually that really doesn't mean anything, and that he is going to leave things behind that will cause her problems with her breathing. And things like washing powders, so really, really fragrant washing powders are just not good for kids. But then you've even got more things that have got volatile compounds in. So the paint that you use, if you go into a brand new house, it's going to be really, really dangerous for a child with breathing sensitivities or with very small lungs, because because what will happen is that you're going to get all of that, all of those volatile compounds are going to be coming out of the carpets, anything man-made, the walls, they're all going to be absorbed by your child's lungs and by your lungs. So it's really, really important that you're very aware of everything that's going on around you, all of those chemical reactions and additions to the air that you're breathing. Fresh air is incredible for our bodies in so many ways. So next up, we're going to have a look at the 5 checklist items that you need to consider. And this is not just, it doesn't apply just to the bedroom, it's every room in your house, or actually every room that you go in. So if you're going to stay with family, if you're going to stay in a hotel, it's really important that you're aware of everything around you. So airflow, ventilation and purification of the air, space and positioning. So for example, the bed, where do you put it? Contents that are in the room, all of the things that our lovely little children collect. We're putting piles of books in there. We've got lots of collections that gather dust. Thinking about all of those things. Pollutants, so the behaviours in those rooms. What are we doing? What are we adding to those rooms through our behaviours? And then maintenance, so upkeep, maintenance of cleaning, maintenance of making sure that children aren't adding additional pollutants to their rooms. So for example, a mouldy apple core could be causing real problems. So airflow, ventilation and purification. Oh, there's my little doggy. So we've got the first thing to be aware of is, how is air getting in and out of your house? Yes, it could be through a window, but if you've got, I was at a house the other day where a child had autism, we called him Spider-Man. If you've got children who are young and you can't open windows very wide to be able to get that fresh air exchange, then you have actually got measures in place to make sure that that air can still get into the home. Now, building regulations on all new UPVC windows have trickle vents. So what that will do is it will give you just the right amount of, if they're clear, it will give you the right amount of air, oxygen coming into the house, and letting that carbon dioxide out, so that gas exchange. So make sure they're clear, and make sure that, if you haven't got them, then you need to make sure that you've got window locks, or you're using the catch on a window to make sure that you've got that little bit of air coming in at all times. It's really, really, really important. Our houses have become so thermally efficient and plugged up. The air tightness has been really improved for obvious reasons of not wanting to lose heat. But in doing that, we've lost fresh air. So really, really key. So if you've got trickle vents on your windows, they're not locks, as some people think. They're not there just to keep building regulations happy. They're there for your health, and you need to use them. You need to make sure they're clear. Use a pipe cleaner, use a toothbrush, whatever you need to use. Some people use hair dryers to blow the air. So yeah, just whatever you use, make sure those trickle vents are clear. All vents need to be clear. Some people put covers over vents because of noise. Use earplugs instead, because it would be so much more beneficial to a child to have that air coming in, and keeping that noise out. Hopefully, many houses do now have mechanical ventilation, so that will be centralised ventilation. So it's just kind of happening in the background the whole time. You won't really hear it. Some people turn this off, and they turn it off because they think it's costing a lot of money. It doesn't cost a lot of money. These systems are designed to cost pence. They're designed to cost a couple of quid a year. And actually, it's really important that if you've got them, you're really beneficial to have those. You're so lucky to have them. Please do keep them on. And then also doors are really important. So at the bottom of your door, again, to get that air exchange into every room of your house, to make sure to avoid things like mold and damp, or high amounts of carbon dioxide around your kids if they're sitting in a room all day. It's really important that the door has a gap at the bottom. Building regs say the gap has to be around 2 centimetres. But if you've got a really high pile carpet, that might take up that 2 centimetres, so then you've not got a gap. So get somebody around, get the door off, get a plane, and take some more off the bottom of that door, because what that will do is it will just keep that airflow going through the whole house, rather than just choking up essentially that one room. So yeah, understand your ventilation, check all of your vents, check all of your filters, make sure they're clear. They're there for your health, they're there for nothing else, no other reason apart from your health and the health of the building, which impacts your health. Always use ventilation where available. So for example, if you've just had a shower, make sure that the windows are open. That sauna stage from a shower, all of that sauna is going to want to get out of the room, out of that shower, and it's going to go to the coldest place. If your child's bedroom is that coldest place, that next window, then all of that condensation is going to go into that room. So it's really important when you've got that sauna stage in your shower, in your bathroom, is that door is shut and the window's open. And if you've got a mechanical fan, which you should, have it on for that entire time. Once the sauna's gone, then open it all up, open that door up, because that will then mean that all of the moisture in the air can be evaporated by leaving the window, through the window. And if you want, you can use an air purifier. So they are, you get what you pay for. They can be really expensive. But what that will do is, let's say, for example, if you want the benefits of having a window open for your child in their bedroom, but they suffer from hay fever, you could have a purifier just by their bed. And that would then mean that the pollen is being collected by the purifier, but they're still benefiting from that fresh air exchange. Bed positioning. So basically, in the room, you need to think about airflow. So leave mold and damp nowhere to hide. So if you've got a bed that's right up against a wall, right up against a window, right up against a pair of curtains, a blind, you're going to get mold and damp. You're going to get that there behind the bed, and that child will be breathing all of those, the spores from the mold, and all of the pollutants from the damp in. And that will impact their lungs, that will impact their life, their lung development will be impacted, and their long-term health will be impacted. Don't do that to them. Give everything in the room in space to breathe. Pull the bed away from the wall. Obviously, be aware of things about, children rolling and getting stuck and things like that. Very important. But where you can, give items of furniture air to breathe. So have them not pressed up against anything else. Make sure that the bed is in the driest and warmest place in the room. I don't mean by a radiator, but what I mean is away from any cold and damp areas, hotspots where water's going to go to. Don't create any blockers to airflow. So if you've got airflow coming from the window and the door, and you put something, let's say a big wardrobe, right in between the two, then that's going to stop that airflow in that room. So it's really important to plan your furniture around the room so that that airflow is able to come in and exit the whole time. And also away from particulate matter. So particulate matter we talked about earlier. So let's say, for example, the yucky stuff that's coming from you cooking a fry up on a gas hob. Let's say you've not shut your door from the kitchen, that's all coming up into the bedroom. So really what you need to be doing is making sure both doors are shut. Try and keep all of that particulate matter from actually entering that room, just as we do with the condensation as well. Content, bedding and bits. So essentially you can just remove all electricals from a child's room, maybe the purifier, keep that in there, but screens, computers, all of that, anything electrical basically attracts dust, and it's really hard to keep it clean. So try, where possible, to take all electricals out of children's rooms. Avoid feather and bedding, and also avoid curtains. Anything that can absorb moisture will be at risk of presenting mold. So so just where you can, try and stick to wipe clean things. So yes, curtains are great for keeping the warmth in, but if you're not opening them daily and if you're not moving them away from a window with condensation, then you're going to have massive problems. So a wipe clean blind is much better. That was a delivery, sorry. So here we are again. So avoid feather bedding and curtains, materials, nice wipe clean, and also washing bedding weekly. I still don't do this as much as I should. But yeah, so wash bedding weekly. You can get really good hypoallergenic washing detergents. So SureCare, I think it's called, is one of them that I use. It's very good. But what that's doing is it's basically avoiding all of those really, really fragranced, claiming to be giving you that fresh air feeling, all of those fragranced fabric conditioners, etc., that are just no good for your children's health. Avoid surfaces for dust to settle. So instead of, let's say, for example, a line of books, you're collecting dust all along the top, turn the books and have the shiny spines to the top so that it's easy to wipe clean with a damp cloth. And collections, etc. We know that our kids love collections of cuddly toys, etc. But that's where you're going to get dust mites. That's where you're going to get problems. So do what you can just to declutter the child's room and make it as healthy. And it doesn't have to be clinical, but it just has to be wipe cleanable. Buy allergen-proof pillowcases, duvet covers and fitted sheets, etc. So you can just basically buy things to keep allergens in. So if, let's say, for example, you're worried about dust mites in a duvet, you can get an allergen cover. They do cost more than your average covers, but it's an investment that's well worthwhile for keeping your child healthy. Pollutants then, so just avoiding things going into your child's room, pets, pollen. Sometimes you can't avoid pollen if you've got the windows open. But let's say, for example, you've got a big tree outside, then you need the fresh air in the room, then you've got to have that. So then you've got to reconsider, well, actually, is it time to have a purifier in there to make sure that that tree pollen isn't entering the room? Nitrogen dioxide, which is your smog. So just making sure that you're aware of what's going on in the outdoor air so that you can make the best indoor air choices. So I was really stupid and I believed in what I was being told, that the outdoor air was smoggy and horrible and we all had to buy electric vehicles for that reason. But actually, and I kept Phoebe's windows shut, I kept the trickle vent shut. But then when I tested the outdoor air, when I started to monitor, the outdoor air was absolutely clean as a whistle, and it was the indoor air that was that came up as really unhealthy and basically you need to make immediate changes. So it's well worth just checking what is going on in the outdoor air if you're shutting your windows for that reason. But just have a look online. You can find out about your outdoor air online, and you can only find out about your indoor air through getting your own monitors. But like I say, they can be super cheap. Cooking smells, laundry smells, air fresheners, just get rid of anything synthetic smells. Just try and keep them out of the rooms or out of the whole house. Low cost home items such as cheap carpets and paint. If you can, buy VOC-free paint, which is basically getting rid of those volatile organic compounds, and then aerosols and chemicals. Anything that you add to your room and to your house, your children's bedroom, you are adding chemicals that will impact their health. You just need to be aware of that. So just don't do it. If you can have a roll-on instead of a spray deodorant, then that's better. Just think about, imagine your child is a petri dish and you're kind of pouring in all of these chemical substances. They're all going to react with one another, and you just don't know what it's doing to your child's health. But I do know that it is doing your child's health no good. So just try, and where you can, cut out all of the synthetics. And then the last one, tick box, is maintenance. Just keeping on top of it. So probably, every month to 2 months, just going in your child, well, if it's things like apple cores, then it's daily. Making sure that they've not got food in the room. Trying not to take food in the room is really important. But every month, 2 months, just going in and maintaining the room, making sure that if you have no choice but to have curtains and not wipe clean blinds, that those curtains are staying away from any condensation areas, that there's nothing trapped that could be causing a collection of dust or mold and damp. And also, the maintenance of your property. So if you don't own your own home and you've got problems with mold and damp other than ventilation, so you control the ventilation of your home, then you need to speak to a landlord, because it could be that there's rising damp, or it could be that due to a water leak or something like that you're getting damp. So it's about just making sure that you're doing what you can as the parent from ventilating inside out. And being aware of what you're doing in the home. But then if there are additional problems with the actual fabric of the building, then you as the owner of the house or the tenant need to speak to the landlord to work out what those things are. Remedies for those sorts of things are quite, can be sorted, can be fixed. But really it's about making sure that you're doing the right things from inside out is the first step to really understanding the difference between poor air and good quality air that will impact your child's health. I hope that's been helpful. I've basically given you everything that I've learned in the last year of my journey to date. I'm extremely passionate about it. I want to help every family make a difference. So if there's anything that I can do, drop us an email and go to indoorairaware.co.uk. We're working on lots of guidance and videos and PDFs that people can take away and read at their own leisure. I'll also be looking to get those translated into as many languages as possible, being aware of all of the issues in terms of access to this really important information. So thank you so much for listening. I've really enjoyed this session and I hope it's made a difference. Thank you.